I am unashamed. What about you?
Welcome back to Unashamed. Jase, on the last podcast, you talked about doing a lot of extraneous sounding things with heavy duck blinds and launching boats. And I was just curious, so how do you feel? How do you physically feel today? Because I'm not there in studio with you, but what you were describing to men our age, and I'm putting this both together, sounds like it could be a bit taxing.
And by men, your age, you mean men with probably low T, I'm assuming, right?
No, I didn't mean that. I just mean men who have way more years behind them than in front of them. The T is okay.
Low T. I don't even know what that means. I don't want to know for holy reasons. But I got to watch where your brain goes. But Al, you already knew the answer to that because a while ago I sent the team into trauma and nervousness because when I walked out the door, I thought it was a safe spot. So I stretched, but it hurt so bad that I just cried out to the Lord because there was nobody else there.
Come on, Jesus.
Walked in and they were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was doing some stretching." But I thought it was because
we call that podcast stretching. You know, you just got to stretch.
It's hard work.
I jumped out of the truck yesterday, out of the back of the truck, but Jay's truck's pretty high. And you know how you feel kind of that slight twinge? Like when I landed, I stuck the landing, but there was a slight twinge. Well, that turned into me this morning when I crawled out of bed, and I mean crawled. And I went, Missy has this little back stretcher thing. It looks like a gimmick. I mean, it's one of them things you see late at night when you should be sleeping, but you're just like,
like an infomercial.
Well, they only run those commercials late at night for a reason.
Because you're not in your right frame of mind. You're
not in your right frame of mind. And so Missy...
Is it like the one you lay on and it stretches you out?
No, you don't lay on it. You just put your legs over the top of it and you push a button. So your calves are on it. And it goes for 12 minutes. And you feel nothing. It feels like this is doing nothing. I mean, this was $49.99 that we should have just set on fire.
Jase, have you ever thought maybe it's doing nothing?
But
maybe it's just $49. Maybe it's like the shrinking powder.
It's a calf massager. Is that what it is? Is that what you're describing?
No, wrong. The calves are the point of contact on this apparatus, and it does a roll thing, and it slightly pulls your legs forward. And it says it's stretching your back. Well, when I got on my hands and knees after 12 minutes, I stood up, which was still painful. But then I took a step and I thought, yep, okay, I'm back going again. The back stretcher. I mean, Missy swears by this thing. And the one time I did injure my back, that did more than every doctor visit, X-ray, inflammation. When I did but I was doing it like 5 times a day. A couple of days later, got up, no problem. Of course, the last words the back doctor said, because I canceled my visit, I said, I got on this little stretcher and I'm good. He's like, well, you'll see me again. But I took that to mean he was just missing out. He kind of had me in the web. Old Jase found $49.95 stretching that back.
That's what you need.
But here's what I think. I thought it was from jumping out of the back of the truck, but I just went to Nashville, spent time with my grandkids. Look, they're 3.5, 2.5, and 1. So I've already made my jokes about be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth. But that's what my kids are doing. And so I think what happened was because Reed, my son, bought them a little tee with a ball for the 3.5 and the 2.5, and he's like teaching them how to hit. Of course, I didn't say, because as a grandparent, which is the greatest family dynamic there is, because you just show up, do what you want to do, and then you don't have to worry about the repercussions. You're out of there.
That's right.
It's awesome. But I wanted to say, you don't start them off at that age on a tee. If you're coaching little league baseball, you teach the mechanics of the swing, they already had that, but then you go to the tee to refine it. But if you have no swing, I think the tee is a bad place to start. And here's my point, because I went out there and said, hey, they're like, oh, I want to play baseball, you know. And I was like, I threw that tee over to the side. And I was like, no, we're going to do this the real way. And so I grabbed my son by the hips, and I was like going back and forth. I said, the key to the swing is right here, the hips, the hips, the hips. So, because I saw Reed he spent 5 minutes just getting them lined up on the tee. Yeah. It's all waste of time. I was like, it's all about the hips. Of course, in Maris, my little granddaughter, who's 3.5, she's watching this. You know, so because then it's fun that we all did the hip thing. Oh, it's like
we're doing the twist.
It's fun. Everything's fun here. Well, then I put the bat in his hands, in David's hands, and I got him lined up there, and I said, put the bat on your shoulder, because he's not wanting to hope, but he can rest there. And then I'm backing off 5 foot away, and I was like, swing. I'm telling him to swing. Well, he immediately thought hips. Well, it's amazing. When you turn your hips, the bat follows, just like the golf swing. So he started swinging before I'd even thrown, which is perfect, because to hit a ball that's coming towards you at that age, they have a depth perception problem. The first ball I threw, now I'm going to be honest, I basically threw the pitch where the bat was coming through the zone. Bam, he hits it. The crowd explodes. Everyone's like, it's a miracle. This kid was born to play baseball. I was thinking, no,
they already got him in the bigs. Yeah. They got him in the big leagues, Jase.
But then I got Maris up there, and he only hit 2 out of 20. But look, he hit the first one, and he hit another one, and was so excited. But Maris was too far on the tee thing. She tried to, I did the same thing, but when the ball, was there, well, that's when she was wanting to swing. And she was wanting to hit it like off the tee. Yeah. Well, the ball's already past you. Yeah. But since David didn't have as much tee time, so I told Reed that. He was like, Dad, I got to admit, that was pretty genius. Because he was so excited that he hit a ball that I threw to him. He's 2 years old. Yeah. I thought that was pretty impressive.
But the secret is he didn't hit a ball. You hit a bat, is what you're saying.
Pretty much, but his swing was perfect.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying.
And then he gets the muscle memory every time.
He kept his bat in the zone for an extreme amount of time. I mean, I really think he has potential. But I left out the part where I hurt my back, which was, first you have to excite him. So before I did the lesson, I picked a ball up, and it's soft, but it's the size of a baseball, but it's soft. And I said, watch this. And I threw that ball up. I said, have you ever seen somebody hit it over your house? Because we're in the backyard. I hit that ball, and it almost went over their house and bounced down the roof, I mean, I hit it probably 80 yards, and it bounced back, and they were like, oh, my. I was like, that's the potential of fun that you can have. So you know what they said? They said, do it again. So I did it again. Well, about the third time I did it, and Missy's like, what are you doing? Because I was hitting it toward them. They don't realize it was a softball. So every time I hit it, Missy and Brighton just went down like it was going to hurt. The thing is literally all just styrofoam, it's not going to hurt them. And the third time I did it, the ball was coming down the house. They're hollering, and cheering, and it gets stuck in the gutter. And their house is very tall. So I looked at Brighton, and their faces fell, and I was like, Brighton, do you have a ladder? And I think that's where I hurt my back, because then I had to put up a ladder. And so I crawled up to the top, but I still could barely reach. And so it was actually probably pretty dangerous. I shouldn't have been doing it. And I had to get a golf club because I couldn't see in the gutter because the ladder wasn't high enough. So I would just guess where the ball was. Because if I got on top of the ladder, I could see it. But then I was vulnerable because this was a tall ladder. And so I finally got it, but without those kids knowing that I had gotten the ball because I was so high, I eased the ball. I did a little trickeration. I hid the ball. And then I got down, they were sad. And I was like, well, maybe we should just pray about it, you know. I was like, oh, I'm just kidding. I was like, maybe we'll find it. Well, I had it, you know, and I maneuvered it around. And then I was like, all right, close your eyes. And when I count to 3, I was like, maybe it'll just appear. So 1, 2, 3, boom, here's the ball. They jumped up and down, you know, and my little 3.5 said, the Lord does answers prayer. I said, see right here? I didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing.
So last year, Jase, I had made I came up with my own little marketing strategy to lose 60 pounds by the time I turned 60. Some people we know made some wagers, bets were made, money was lost.
Yeah.
You understand, you were there.
It just shows you that marketing can only take you so far, Al. Sometimes you need professional help.
You do. And so I fell short of my goal. But now that I've turned 60, I have found some people that are helping me get to that goal and more. The folks are PhD weight loss, and Dr. Ashley Lucas is the founder. She's a registered dietitian. She has a PhD in sports nutrition and chronic disease. But she has a great passion for helping people, but she also is very good at explaining the science behind weight loss, and that's what's helped me a lot. This program teaches you what to eat, when to eat. It works on your relationship with food, and that's going to help me keep it off for my whole life. So here's a picture of me when this first started, and I was bold enough to wear a tight T-shirt, so this is me, all of me. And here I am 16 weeks later. I have now reached the magical number of 50 pounds, still going, got some more to do, but that's happened. Because the good folks at PhD Weight Loss, there's no gimmicks, no pills, no injections, no terrible side effects. I have felt really good. I've also not felt hungry, which is very important. They provide 80% of your weekly foods at no extra cost. So check these guys out. I'm telling you, it works. Join Zach and I on this weight loss journey. Schedule your one-on-one consultation today by calling 864-644-1900, or you can visit myphdweightloss.com. That's 864-644-1900. Tell them that Al and Zach sent you.
And so then I was like, y'all want to hit it. So see, then they were excited. So we did that. But I want to say this. I want to brag on my daughter-in-law for a second, because the plan was, they said, why don't we're going to go to the movies tonight and take the kids. It's their first movie. And I was thinking 3, 2, and 1. Go see in a movie? That will never work. But they said, well, it's this new cartoon movie, The King of Kings.
Yeah,
I've heard about it. I've heard about it.
I thought it was pretty good. And, you know, it's a cartoon. But it was, I mean, they basically just kind of went down the line of the Bible. It's kind of told in a framework of a dad telling his son about the story of Jesus, you know? I mean,
that's an Angels studio movie, I think.
Yeah. I didn't know who made. I didn't even notice. But we went to one of these movies, you know, where we don't have one here, but you can like put your feet out and they have people come in, you know, for a nominal fee. Would you like some, you know, something to eat while you're here, you know? And so it was pretty much, you know, chicken tenders and whatever, which I think helped their behavior. But I was shocked. Those 3 kids sat there and watched that movie. I was stunned. I mean, somebody has been providing some structure there. And I was singling out my daughter-in-law because she spends the most time with them. But I mean, to give Reed and Brighton credit, if you would have told me, because I remember when we were kids, that would not have been possible. No. 911 would have been called. I mean, they did. The only thing I found fascinating is the 3.5-year-old, when they got to the Jesus on the cross, she had trouble watching that. Because, you know, I mean, that's not really, it's pretty rough to watch, even in a cartoon format. And she was like, I need to go potty. And Missy's like, I think she's just uncomfortable. I think she was. Because Missy, I think they took her to go potty and she didn't really have to, but she was just like, this is heavy.
Yeah.
You know? But I thought, you know what? If you were going to take your kids to the movies and they were able to sit there and watch, I mean, I thought it was a pretty positive thing.
Yeah, I would have never thought that was possible. And you're right. Kudos to your kids.
No, it was awesome. So that was fun. But So to reveal, on the way back from Nashville, I was in some convenience store or whatever, and forgot exactly. I went to the bathroom and I was looking for a few snacks, because the trips are all about the snacks.
Oh yeah,
just like airplanes. And I heard this guy say, Jase. And so I looked up. He's like, is that really you? And I was kind of looking behind me, playing along. I was like, yep, what's left of him? He said, I've been following you since I was a kid. Of course, he looked like a kid, But I mean, he was in his 20s. But when, as my age, people in their 20s look like just children.
exactly.
And he was like, my hands are kind of shaking here. I watched every video, and all this stuff. I was like, well, I'm gonna have to share Jesus with this guy, because this is a little kind of like when we had the country music guy. Oh, yeah. It's like when people are like kind of awkwardly giving you praise. It's like what they don't realize is you're drawn to the Spirit of the Lord here. So I was trying to craft my sermon on how I was going to do this, and so I was like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Well, I work for the Coast Guard." And I was like, oh, I think we were in Mississippi. And I was like, well, how long you been in Mississippi? He said, no, I'm from Texas. I'm driving to Virginia, So as we're walking outside, we took a little picture, and I said, well, because he had mentioned everything we do except this podcast. So I thought, well, have you ever heard of our podcast? And he's like, I've listened to every episode. I was like, well, I was trying to figure out a clever way to share Jesus with you. And he said, well, I've been following you since I've been born. And he said, you know what my last name is? And I was like, drum roll, because I thought, what is this? What does this have to do with anything? I said, what is your last name? Guess what his last name was? Bible. I said, your last name is Bible? For real? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, let me tell you this. I feel way better about this country that we got a guy who loves Jesus, whose last name is Bible, who's protecting our coast. I said, America. He's like, America.
Was his first name Reed?
He never told me his first name, but you know what? I got to thinking about that because Missy asked me the same question. And I told her what I'm going to tell you. I said, if your last name is Bible and you love Jesus, your first name is irrelevant. Because what would my dad call him for the rest of his days?
Oh, Bible. Oh, Bible man.
Come in here and give us some words of wisdom.
Oh, Bible man.
Have you ever heard of a person named Bible?
I have not.
So we're formulating a top 10 names that Jase has met. So now we have 2. One. Remember one, W-O-N, and now we have Bible, which Bible's going to be hard to top.
Yeah, we'll have to keep Maddie
I was like, we'll have to keep playing.
Maddie, keep a running tally on amazing names. Yeah, we'll have a lot of those. That'd be an interesting little name search on where that came from.
Yeah, we need to look it up, Al.
Yeah.
Get it?
All right. We need to read it more. Speaking of Bible, Jase, since we know Mr. Bible is listening to our podcast.
Hey, look, and don't you feel safer? Seriously, just me telling you that.
That's exactly right. We're surrounded by water. You want people that are out there monitoring the water to be Bible men.
We got a Bible man on the coast, protection.
I love it. Oh, and he's from where? Texas?
He's from Texas, but he's stationed in Virginia. I thought that was just fascinating. That didn't seem to get as fired up as me, but I just
it's a good name. That's a good strong name.
Yeah. Can you imagine a person being named Bible who is not a believer? That's what I thought. Yeah.
What if you were an atheist and your name was Bible? That'd be you'd be a conflicted individual.
I'm not sure it's possible.
Yeah, it'd be weird. All right, so we want to get back into the Bible. Zach, do you want to do that, or you got any words of wisdom? You got any moments to share with us?
I got nothing better than John 7. So
this is breaking news. This is a big moment for Unashamed today. We're actually moving on to John chapter 7.
We are, and it's a fantastic text as well. But we explain why we spent so much time on John 6. But we're going to take that next step in terms of where Jesus is headed. And so I guess I'll just open up and read these first few verses, and then we can kind of get into the discussion. Because it's really interesting. This is the first time in the book of John that we kind of get a look at his earthly family other than his mom, who, of course, we read about back in John 2.
Al, I think this is the only gospel that brings up his brothers. Isn't it?
Right. Specifically, it does bring up his family in a couple other contexts, but you wasn't sure who exactly that was. But you're right. It's the only time he mentions them specifically is right here. And it wasn't really good for them. I mean, it wasn't a good.
It is if you look at it from a transformational viewpoint, because I mean, this has nothing to do with the text, but I have used this argument before. When you fast forward to Acts 1, which I think this is a good time to do this since that's
excellent time.
Yeah, Acts 1, when, which is really depressing because it says all the believers were gathered together among the believers in those days. This is Acts 1:15. In those days, now we're post Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, and Jesus'
ascension.
speech. Yeah, and Jesus ascends back to the Father. And it says, in those days, Peter stood up among the believers. I have a little letter by believers. What is the other?
Brothers, Greek for brothers.
Brothers, which is really, they probably put believers because he lists a bunch of women in there too. So
right.
Maybe that's why they made
we would call it in our vernacular, the brethren.
Yeah.
Kind of everybody.
And it says a group numbering about 120. But the verse I wanted is before that, in 14, because it says all of them were together, and it starts, those were present. This is 13, Acts 1:13b. It says all were present. Peter, John, James, Andrew, Philip, Thomas, Bartholomew, Matthew, James, and Simon the Zealot, and a different Judas. They all joined together constantly in prayer, along with the women and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brothers.
Yeah.
So you say, why is that significant? Because John 7:5, before you read the whole text, Al, says, for even his own brothers did not believe in him. So you have to pause and say, what happened in between John 7:5 and Acts 1:13? What happened to change them?
So one of the things we've always been able to appreciate about Mom is she made our home a home. I mean, she cooked for us. She took care of us. She made sure we got what we needed. Dad was always, in the woods kind of guy, but Mom was at the home kind of person. And that's why we love her. And that's why, Mother's Day is special for us.
I'm telling you right now, my mom's passed away, but my wife, I'm going to honor her. You guys still have Kay around. Please tell me you've got her something for Mother's Day.
Well, we do, and it's from our good friends at Cozy Earth, because Mom spends a lot of days lounging now, and so we want her to be comfortable, and we're getting her something from Cozy Earth because we love it.
Motherhood looks different for everyone. Some have moms who've shaped them. Some are moms themselves. Some have carried the love of motherhood in their hearts in a lot of different ways. And whether you are celebrating a mom, remembering one, longing to be one, or just navigating motherhood in unexpected ways, all mothers deserve the best. And that's where Cozy Earth comes in. From their temperature-regulating bedding to their ultra-soft pajamas, Cozy Earth creates comfort. Feels like home because home feels like mom. Cozy Earth's bamboo pajamas are the perfect way to wrap yourself or that special person in your life in comfort and care.
That's why this Mother's Day, we're getting my mom her own set of Cozy Earth pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
Get 40% off with our code Unashamed at CozyEarth.com/unashamed, and special offer to celebrate moms everywhere this weekend only, May 2nd through the 4th. Cozy Earth is giving our listeners a special promo. Buy one, get one free bamboo pajamas. Use code Unashamed BOGO to take advantage of this offer. Moms deserve the best. CozyEarth.com/unashamed, code Unashamed BOGO for buy one, get one free bamboo pajamas.
And one more step, Jase, the James, who is one of the kind of the early sort of main church leader in Acts 15, is the same James that wrote the book of James, most scholars think, and that they think that was Jesus' earthly brother as well. So, yeah, I mean, to your point, obviously something changed them dramatically.
So what happened was the death, burial, and resurrection of the King of Kings and his ascension to the right hand of God.
Exactly. So that's the setting as we go into this. Let me read it, and we'll kind of get into this. So it says, after this, which is everything we've been talking about for quite a while, Jesus went around in Galilee, purposely staying away from Judea, which is where Jerusalem is, by the way, because the Jews there were waiting to take his life. So Jesus obviously knows what's going on, and it's gotten dangerous. And which you don't think of this like he's hiding, because he came here to die. So he knows what's going to happen. It's just not his time yet for this to happen. That's why he's waiting.
Well, and I think we've said this hundreds of times, but I feel like we need to say it again. Part of what Jesus is doing, and God through Jesus, God the Father through Jesus, is he's going to disarm all these evil powers, these fallen celestial beings, prime candidate, the evil one, which he's going to continue to bring up through the course of John. And so first, is it 1 Corinthians 2:7 or 2 Corinthians 2:7 that says none of the rulers of this age, the powers in the realms knew that what was going to happen, because if they did, they would not have crucified the Lord Jesus. Is it 1 Corinthians 2:7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And none of the rulers of this age understood it.
Yeah, because if they had, I mean, look, think of the evil one. He thought that was his
move. That was victory.
Yeah, this is it. Well, you kill anybody who's a threat to us reigning our terror of death. I mean, that's why the evil one is depicted as the ruler of the realm of the dead. I mean, he's going to say in this chapter, he was a murderer from the beginning. Yeah. And so we remember when was the first murder. It wasn't long after Adam and Eve.
Next chapter.
Yeah, Cain and Abel, which is how that escalated. Your death has now been introduced, which is why which is why God said, you eat of that tree, you'll surely die.
Right.
And people read it and like, well, they didn't die. Well, just wait for it. It's coming.
And I love the way you tied in the fear there, because immediately they were afraid. Remember, that was the first instinct they had, and they hadn't even died yet. They hadn't even seen death yet. Why were they so afraid?
So I'm just saying that's why this is kind of cloaked, and where Jesus like, don't tell anybody. And I mean, that's what I think. I don't know what y'all think, but
no, I think so too. And I think that it's interesting how you referenced this earlier, how this does unfold. The skepticism unfolds throughout kind of the life of Jesus and post-resurrection. In the world of apologetics, they talk about what they call these core minimal facts that surround the life of Jesus and his resurrection. And when they're looking into evidences for his resurrection, which is interesting, by the way, someone just sent me a discussion they had with ChatGPT on the proof of Jesus's resurrection, and it's fascinating to read it because ChatGPT is artificial intelligence, and so it's not emotionally engaged in the conversation. And as the dialogue continued at the end of it, ChatGPT was like, "Yeah, the most probable position would be that Jesus actually did raise from the dead," and it gives a lot of reasons. But one of the ways they do this is they take these core minimal facts. And what a core minimal fact is, it's a fact that's agreed upon by the majority of New Testament scholarship. This does not mean that it's agreed upon by Christians. These are like non-Christian, academic, just the field of New Testament scholarship it's disconnected from the church. And here's the facts that everybody pretty much agrees on. And such as there was an empty tomb. Now, we're not saying Jesus rose from the dead, but we do believe historically that there was an empty tomb. We do believe
How can there be an empty tomb if he didn't raise?
Well, they could say that one of the theories is that the disciples stole the body. So they have explanations.
But that's in the Bible. They said they said they're going to steal the bodies, so the Romans said, well, let's make sure they can't do that. Go find the biggest rock.
Yeah. So there's like a secular answer for all of these questions. Well, one of them is one of the ones that was the hardest to get over, and this is like agreed upon by the majority of New Testament scholarship, is that James, the brother of Jesus, who was a skeptic before the resurrection, became a follower of Jesus when he believed and saw the risen Christ. And that's a major evidence, I think, because if he saw, he would know, because one of the theories is that, well, Jesus had a twin brother, and this is actually a real theory, that Jesus had a twin brother. One of the brothers suffered death on the cross, and then the other one came up and was like, no, I'm alive, but it was all like a ruse. It was all fake. It was all like a scam. But the point is that James would have known that he had two brothers. So you look at these core minimal facts, and here's what they do with this. It's so incredible. You cannot explain all of the core minimal facts around the resurrection of Jesus away, except for the resurrection of Christ is real and it actually happened in real space time.
Oh, yeah. Well, like his brothers as an evidence.
That's a big evidence. Like this, So you're seeing like these skeptics here, like his own family's a skeptic, which you could imagine that would be the case. Like if Willie came in and said, "All right, boys, I'm the Messiah. I'm the Son of God. You guys like, no, you're not."
He actually did say that when we were kids, but he just didn't use the word Messiah, but it was something to the equivalent of it.
And you didn't believe him, did you?
No.
So you kind of get their skepticism in one regard, because they're like, man, I grew up with you. You know, you put your shoes on just like we do. Now, they probably did notice he never sinned, and probably thought, I mean, you are a really good guy. But those closest to him were skeptical, and their transition throughout his life, and to watch his ministry, to watch his crucifixion, and then to have an encounter with the risen Lord brought his own skeptical brothers to put their faith in him as King Jesus. That's powerful.
Yeah. But if you think about it, Zach, the hardest people probably to convince would be the ones who watch you grow up, because they know everything about you. And what in the human vernacular, what we don't understand is maybe being beyond our capabilities. We just call weird. So,
yeah.
You know,
well, I think though, Al, it's all a mask. It's like the people, Missy and I was having a conversation, you know, when you drive back from Nashville, it's 8 hours. We were talking about this woman who we all love and y'all know, but who just fell away from the Lord, you know, and it's like she knows everything. I mean, every possible, she'd been to every Bible study we've walked with for years, you know, and Missy had recently talked to one of their mutual friends, you know, it's like, well, what do we, you know, because they had seen her somewhere. And Missy's like, the problem is not knowledge or experience. The problem is the lack of wanting to surrender. And I think that everybody reaches that point. You'll look at the Bible skeptically when you don't want to surrender and give your life. There's cost involved when you want to do what you want to do. And I really think that's the answer to like 90% of these issues. When you say, I just can't reach this guy, or like you're trying to find clever ways. We've all had those Bible studies, and then it kind of dawns on you, you know what? They just don't want to give their life up to the Lord.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can say. That really is the problem.
Yeah, I've thought about this, like with the advancement of AI, and I think we're gonna see this. I think this interaction I was telling you about. If you remove that bias out of your life, where does the actual logic lead? And I think it will lead straight to Jesus. I really do. I don't think it like.
I agree. It leads to a person. You keep saying this. It reminds me when we were up there in the weekend. Missy made crawfish pies for a lot of Reed and Brighton's friends and all. We had a gathering there. Well, Reed took a ribeye, the whole ribeye, and was going to smoke it. And he took a nap because they had gotten up early or whatever. Well, when he went out to get it or check on it, the smoker had for some reason gone off. And he was like, oh no. And so, look, I was stunned at what happened. Because, you know, when you're hosting, and you have all these people come over, I mean, it became a crisis.
Jase, you ever been sucked into a scam?
I'm sure I have.
Well, don't get sucked into the same old free phone scam that the big wireless companies, that you're going to get a free phone when you sign up, but it comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for multiple lines, 3-4 lines, plus activation fees, plus. The list goes on. There's a better way with our sponsor, Pure Talk, which is my wireless company. They have an offer that you're not going to want to miss. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. This phone has virtually indestructible Gorilla Glass, and it captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. Really, the photos are absolutely amazing. All you need to do to switch is go to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, this is what you'll get. Unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with a mobile hotspot, all on America's most dependable 5G network. And we love Pure Talk because they are committed to helping veterans. They're committed to raising money to help veterans learn trades after they get out of active duty. They're also helping to eliminate veteran debt and raising donations to end veteran suicide. All you have to do to switch, which is very easy, I know because I've done it, is go to puretalk.com/unashamed to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/unashamed to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
What I was disappointed in is because I didn't know what whatever you said, chat GPT or whatever, that came up. And I thought, what? They were talking about, look, and somebody said, call Siri. You know, it was this kind of stuff. They were looking this up. And I thought, what are you talking about? There's a member.
They were trying to find a solution for it?
Yeah, trying to find a solution to the smoker going off because now it's just unknown. And I said, well, we have a member of our family who is AI. He is Siri and Chat GPT. He embodies it when it comes to smoking. Al, he's your son-in-law.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, when I said, call him. So Reed looked at me like, that's a great idea. He called him. He had him on speakerphone. It was like when Reed, he laid out the, all right, I put it on. Here's what happened. Jay was like, just immediately, it was like somebody touched a button. And he said, do you have one of those, whatever he called it, the thermometer that you put it in and it comes out on your phone, you know? And I actually got one for Christmas. Used it once. It was fascinating. And so Jay, Reed's like, yep. He's like, okay, take the temperature. Now, don't panic. And he was even calming him down, which AI is not going to do for you. Yeah. He said, it will be okay.
Teach him how to fly a plane when the pilot goes down. He's on the phone with the pilot. He's like, "Oh, we're gonna calm down."
That's what
He's
it was
talking
like.
him
And look,
down.
the whole crowd is dead silent, listening to these words of wisdom. And look, he was like, "Put it in the oven. You start off at 300. Once you get the temperature, they had the temperature, but Reed kept looking at that estimated time, and he's like, they're going to be here in an hour, and this is 3 hours and 20 minutes. He's like, don't pay any attention to that. It's wrong. It doesn't realize what's fixing to happen. It'll catch up. And so they kept panicking because that time wouldn't move. He did put it in the oven. He said, well, you can save it in the oven. This is your salvation. And they had it on 300, and he's like, kick it up to 350, but you can never go over 350. But about 10 minutes before they arrived, one of Reed's buddies said, I think we ought to go to 500. And he said, don't go over 350.
Don't do it.
And you know what was amazing? Is about 15 minutes after everybody arrived, the crawfish pot. So we had to wait about 15 minutes. It reached the magic temperature of 130 inside. The time caught up. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, just melt in your mouth. And I said, see, this is what happens when you put all your faith and trust in something that's not even real. You know what I mean? I was like, you got a dude who was born to image the creator of the universe when it comes to smoking meat. Because that dude, no matter what happens, he's like, everyone remain calm.
That's right.
I mean, he really is a savant.
But you know why, Jase? You know why? Because the man has cooked so many big, huge chunks of meat hundreds of times.
Hundreds.
So he's been through all that.
Yeah, he was
Which
perfect.
to your analogy, that's the if somebody understands everything you've ever dealt with and they can give you a solution, that's the guy you want to listen to.
That's what just infuriates me about the cell phone. I mean, look, today, me driving here, I blew my horn, I would say 4 times. And each time, it was a person on their cell phone. I said, what are you looking for?
Looking up how to smoke meat. They're like, how?
It's like, and it made me think. I wonder, has anybody done the stats? Because now I guarantee you, something revolving around a cell phone is probably in the top 10 of the leading causes of death. It has to be. It's like that should be a category. I didn't look it up because that would be against what I'm proposing here, but I'm just saying that it is an epidemic. And I'm like, this is we have this, we're making jokes about a guy named Bible, but I'm saying this Bible is revealing a person that is literally giving you everything you need.
Well, I don't know the number, but you're right. And the reason I know you're right is because they do these PSAs now, these public service announcement videos the government does all the time, or state government, about don't text and drive. You will arrive alive. Don't text and drive. Alive. Yeah, so you wouldn't have these things going on if there weren't danger associated with what you're talking about.
Look, what is the number one? Now, Maddie is just on the case. Look,
oh yeah.
What is now? She's probably getting this from artificial intelligence. What is the number one leading cause of vehicle accidents in the U.S.?
Cell phones.
Distracted driving. Yes. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a stat from an injury.
Oh, well, you can trust them more than AI because, trust me, they're making some cha-ching.
Yeah. Cha-ching. You know what I noticed, too, coming back from Nashville? That everywhere that we encountered wrecks, which was multiple times, way more than usual. You know what I just happened to notice?
A billboard.
There was a billboard of saying, had a car wreck.
Yeah.
Some guy, he smiled.
They know where they occur at.
Cha-ching.
Exactly.
So,
bills.
All right. So let me get back to this text. This is why it takes us so long. So that was the first verse of chapter 7. So he's staying there because he knows they want to take his life. Verse 2. But when the Jewish feast of tabernacles was near, Jesus' brothers, so here's the brothers on the scene. Remember, he's home. He's in Galilee. Said to him, you ought to leave here and go to Judea so that your disciples may see the miracles you do. No one who wants to become a public figure acts in secret. Since you are doing these things, show yourself to the world. For even his own brothers did not believe in him, which was the point we were making before about where they got to, eventually. And, they looked at it almost like Jase, we talked about this before. It was like it was all of a sudden we had a little marketing strategy broke out among the brothers. They're like, well, look, if you want to be a big deal, I mean, I know you got these crowds and you're doing stuff, but if you want to really do it, you got to get out there. You got to press the flesh. You got to get down where the action is in Jerusalem.
There's no difference in this and my analogy with cell phones because now everybody has gone public via the cell phone. It's that's why they can't even drive down the road because this is their public persona, whatever image they have, and that's what I'm saying. Here you have another group of people, which is this group never gets any time, in our speeches, but not unlike the Jewish people that he had just offended by his take on, I'm the one Moses was writing about. I am the bread. I am the manna. Well, now his own brothers are giving Jesus, the Son of God, advice on how to do that, how to navigate the world.
How to become a big deal. I mean, it is. There's such a thick irony here because they're like, hey, if you really want to be a big deal, if you want to be an influencer, you want to make some waves in the world, and you want to, you got to get a platform, Jesus, and this is what you need to be doing. And his response is really hilarious because it's like, I mean, it's a total alpha move here because he says, my time has not yet come. So he's saying, don't you worry about, I'm going to make some ways. Don't worry about, I promise you, I'll have lasting impact. My time hasn't come yet. He's so confident in his identity that he knows where he's headed. And I think that what he's predicting that's going to come, and the reason why he's here, what does he say? He says about it that it's works or evil. He says the world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify about it that its works are evil. So I mean, like, it's not, Jesus isn't trying to win a popularity contest. Exactly. Like his life that will unfold and end in his death and in the vindication through the resurrection. That's what's going to, I mean, what's going to pave the way for his fame and glory is actually going to be a road that he'll walk all alone on a Roman cross.
So Mother's Day is approaching, and Jase, I have to say that when I think about our mom and what a great mom she is, for me, it's even a double blessing because she was 16 years old and found out she was pregnant with me. And obviously this was unplanned. And, she went through what every, young girl would go through in this moment. And yet she decided to choose life. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be sitting here with you today. So
I know you're glad she did.
I'm obviously have the best Mother's Day gift she gave me was life. So I appreciate her every year. I also appreciate others who care deeply for moms who find out they're pregnant. Preborn's network of clinics exists exclusively to offer love, life, and support to pregnant mothers. So when a distressed mother comes to Preborn, she's welcomed with open arms. She's offered a free ultrasound to hear and see the precious life that's growing inside of her. And the majority of the time, she will choose life, and that's what we stand behind. What a gift it is to stand in the gap of those who need it the most. So this Mother's Day, you can bring life to both a mother in need and an at-risk baby. One ultrasound is only $28. 5 ultrasounds are $140. Every penny goes towards loving mothers and babies. And when you become a monthly sponsor, you will receive pictures and stories of the lives that you helped to save. To get involved, simply dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can visit preborn.com/unashamed. That's preborn.com/unashamed. Well, he's basically telling his brothers, you don't have any skin in the game. That's why you can get along. If you're only trying to be popular, I mean, if you're not going to go against anything, then of course it's easy to do. I thought about, Zach, the line people use today. They call it building their brand, Yeah. And that's the way we talk about it today's. And that's what they're telling him. You got to go build that brand. And he's like, no, you're not understanding exactly why I'm here.
But he did go on to become, and this was interesting, he did go on to become Jesus Christ, went on to become the most recognized figure in human history. And they're giving him advice on how to get famous.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that verse up, that John 7:7, though, when it says the world cannot hate you, but it hates me. Because now everybody wants to kill him. Also, that's coming up a lot. And I think that's what he means by it hates him. Because they're trying to kill the man, and he's never done anything wrong.
Right.
And I think it comes with this, what he's doing in secret is giving him the ability on how he should be in public. Yeah. But you just think about how that applies to your life. What you do in secret, and I'm meaning this reference to the Holy Spirit. I mean, Jesus had the Holy Spirit. And what is he doing in secret? He's constantly going off and praying, to God. He has a relationship with the Father that's what he's trying to do, is represent the Father. He said it over and over and over and over. It made me think of Sermon on the Mount also, when he gets into this, what you do in secret. He's like, these religious leaders, they go out and pray for everybody to see. But he's like, when you pray, go in your room, shut the door, because your Father who sees what is done in secret.
Yep.
And then he uses the same analogy about giving and fasting, and then he'll say the same thing, the Father who sees what is done in secret. So I think that's really important.
It is that verse 7, though. The reason why they hate him and the reason why they want to kill him is because he's exposing what their works is evil.
Well, yeah.
And if you had mentioned Cain and Abel earlier, the original murder, the first murder in the Bible, why did he murder him? Because it was in Abel's righteous offering that had exposed Cain's evil deed. And I think that's just what we do as humans. That is kind of the way of the world, is that you expose my stuff, then we're going to have a conflict. We're going to have an issue. And Jesus, he just illuminates reality to he just is like the truth. He says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And so he's truthfully exposing the world for what it is in his coming to the earth. So I think that's where the hatred is coming from with these guys, because he's exposing their hearts. He's exposing our hearts.
Well, right. Now, I think he's leading up to that John 8 where he specifically said, I mean, after he says this, what I'm going to read, then he goes on this language about you're children of the devil. But he says in 21 of John 8, he said, once more Jesus said, I am going away and you'll look for me and you will die in your sin. Where I go, you cannot come. And this made the Jews ask, will he kill himself? Is that why he says, where I go, you cannot come? But he continued, you are from below, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. I told you that you would die in your sins if you do not believe that I am the one I claim to be. You will indeed die in your sins. I mean, that's pretty bold.
That's very bold.
I mean, he's exposing there. It goes back to that John 3. He's exposing what happens in the darkness, which is a lot of sin and cover up.
I was just going to say, from a practical standpoint, we can't really relate to this in our own lives because our parents, found Christ and then at some point, brought us up in him. And so so our family were believers together, for most of our lives. Jason and I were a little bit later to the game, but, we don't have this understanding. What if you're the only one? I know y'all both have done it, and we've been a part of many people through the years when someone is led to Christ and they're the first one in their family to come to Christ. And they're in a situation where that becomes a negative against them because all of a sudden it's like, well, why are you doing this? Or you're joining some cult? And I remember, there's undergo terrible persecution. When we've had Larry Bowles on here talking about people coming out of Islam, in his Athens work, and where it costs you everything, where they take all your stuff back home and burn it, in a pile and say you can never come back here. So when I read, verses like this, I realize the courage it takes sometimes in your own family to stand and do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And Jesus shows a great example of this because, these are the brothers he grew up with. He cared about them, but they didn't even believe he was who he said he was because it's not like he hadn't been talking about it up to now. And so all they're talking about is brand building. And he's like, you guys don't even realize what's going on.
Oh, exactly. Well, we didn't talk about what this feast was that started the whole, here's what you do.
It's called the Feast of the Tabernacles, and there are three major feasts, and you see them all throughout the New Testament too. And, you had obviously the Feast of the Passover, which is the first one, which was kind of this idea of coming out of Egypt. And that's related because we know this happens when Jesus winds up giving his life in this late springtime. Right now, we would call it Easter. They would call it the Passover. Then you have this Pentecost, which is 50 days after that, which is just basically saying we're going to bring offerings to God because we've been delivered. That's kind of the concept. And then you have this one called the Feast of Tabernacles, which happens at the harvest in the fall. And this is right after the Day of Atonement. So there's three major feasts that all Jewish males had to participate in. And that's this third one. So and they call it the Feast of Tabernacles or the Feast of, what do they call it?
Booths.
It was booths, is what they call it.
And
today.
they built these little shacks, but they stayed there. It was like a camp out for 8 days,
8 days, correct.
Yeah, you shall dwell, this is Leviticus 22.
Right.
You shall dwell in booths for 7 days that your generations may know that I made the people of Israel dwell in booths when I bought them out of the land of Egypt.
So that's what it was honoring. It was honoring the idea.
Why are they doing it 8 days if they said do it 7? Get back to me on that.
Do you know the answer to it?
No, I was just...
I would guess it's because they made sure they didn't want to miss the 7th day. It was like the 40 minus 1. They were supposed to get 39 lashes, but they would say 40 minus 1 because they didn't want to make sure and get the wrong number. But I'm just guessing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know. I mean, Zach read it. I mean, everything I read, it said it lasted for 8 days. So,
right. Well, anyway, so we'll look into that, Jase. This was the setting for which. So this was.
Let me read on the 15th day of this 7th month is the feast of booths to the Lord for 7 days. On the 8th day, you shall hold a holy convocation and present food offering to the Lord. It is a solemn assembly. You shall not do any ordinary work. So it was
in there. Yeah, you just quit reading.
Yeah, I just quit reading.
We should have called Mr. Bible from the Coast Guard. And he would say, keep reading.
Yeah, he'd have never made that mistake. I knew it the whole time, even when you asked it. No, I'm kidding. I had to read on, look it up. So, but let me say this though: why does Exodus keep coming up? Yeah. I mean, you have to think about this. I mean, this is like a key story. This is the new Exodus. I mean, Jesus keeps dealing with this whole thing that happened in Exodus. And he's interpreting for them the new and the real point of the Exodus. And I think that's the lightning rod that Jesus is.
No, I agree. And that's the way you should read it. Yes, we were going to eventually be saved, but he chose the nation of Israel. He shadowed it with all this hope, using people, raising them up. And then Jesus fulfilled it all by giving us a new creation, a new Exodus.
All right, so we're out of time, but we did move into chapter 7. I'm excited. So we'll pick this up next time in our discussion on Unashamed. Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube. And be sure to click the little bell and choose all notifications to watch every episode.